What's up guys, JD2017 here, and today I am continuing my Fallout 4 pre-release content. We are just 12 days away from release, and to put that into perspective, that's only 288 hours away. It sounds like a lot of hours, but when you think about it, it's really not that long. We are getting so close. Just a quick reminder guys, this is your #1 hub for Fallout 4 content here on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned on my channel now and when the game comes out on November 10th. Today our focus is on settlements and everything we know about them so far, and I will be referencing the E3 video where Bethesda showed off settlements throughout this video because that's where most of my information is coming from, so I left a link in the description below for your reference. First off, let's come up with a very generic description of what a settlement is and what do you do with a settlement. This is mine. I say you basically build, manage, and defend a small group of people. And when I say small, this is really, it's relative. So with a giant like town or city, obviously modern cities are huge, millions of people. You're not gonna have millions of people. Settlements are small groups of people, and you're going to build a settlement. You're going to manage everything about that settlement, and you're gonna defend that settlement from raiders. Something I'm still very confused about is what is the underlying purpose of building a settlement? What is the huge advantage of doing this? I mean, of course it's fun to manage these people, manage resources like every iPhone game you've ever played, but what is the real advantage of doing this? Do we get something out of this? And I had some ideas. Maybe we get some specialized people, like some engineers that provide certain special upgrades, maybe for our power armor. Maybe we get tons of caps because our settlement is big about trading, something like that. We don't really know what the underlying purpose is. Maybe it's just a fun mode to manage people. I don't really know, but I really like to see an underlying advantage to all of this. It's a very intricate and awesome system, but I want to get something out of it. Let's talk about building your settlements. This is basically the first step in establishing your settlement and managing it and all of that business, and you're going to use the workshop mode to build your settlements. And basically that takes you out of your normal, run around third person or whatever you're going to play it in mode, and you go into workshop mode, and you can go around the world, highlight specific items, and scrap them for their materials. And these materials allow you to craft new structures in order to build your settlement from the ground up. Of course, these materials will allow you to decorate the insides, furnish it with some beds, some couches, maybe a pool table, whatever. I don't know if there's a pool table, that was just an idea. But essentially that's what you can do with your materials. Also, you can use them to defend your settlements. Again, there are going to be raider attacks, so you need to be able to defend your people. Something to keep in mind is that you're going to be using the same materials for weapon crafting that you're going to be using for settlement crafting in the workshop mode. Again, every item in the world has a purpose, so you're going to be using the same materials. They're coming from the same pool of materials. And if I had to guess, there's probably plenty of items around our settlement areas. And so there are preset areas that you can actually build these settlements in the game. And Todd himself in the video says many large sites you can build on. That's kind of the phrase that he uses. For some reason, I had this magic number of 13 in my mind. I don't know where it came from, but I was under the impression we had 13 settlement sites. That could be crazy. I don't know where I got that number from. You guys can tell me if you've heard that before, but we do know that there's going to be several large settlement sites to build on. We also know there's going to be a huge variety of things that we can craft. Obviously, there's so much cosmetic stuff. I'm sure there are plenty of options. There was a Brahmin head kind of mantle that you could put on the wall. I mean, that's just random. We can expect so many different things we can craft, but also there are tons of practical things that actually have a purpose and some sort of value to you and your settlement. And some of these things that we can craft actually have perk requirements, and I'll get into some of those specifics in a little bit here, but just keep that in mind. Certain special categories will be best for building settlements, so keep that in mind as you're crafting your characters. Once you've built your settlement, it's all about managing it, and you have a certain set of resources that you're supposed to manage. And of course, if you do a good job with this, your settlement will grow. Maybe you're at the very peak top of your settlement, maximum size, and you just need to sustain your settlement. That's what management is all about. And there are various, like I said, resource categories. They include your people, food, water, power, safety, beds, happiness, and size. Now, obviously, Bethesda said that they've had this in mind for years. So this settlement idea really inspired Fallout Shelter. So if you've played the Fallout Shelter game app, then you know a lot about what's going to go on with management and how that's going to work. And very similarly to the app, we're going to have to assign workers to certain objects. They actually show us in that gameplay that you have to assign a person to a guard tower, you know, in order to defend the settlement. So that guard tower isn't in use unless someone is assigned to it. Similarly, you know, if you have a power room in Fallout Shelter, you need someone in there actually working on the power to harvest power. Let's quickly go through each of these categories just very briefly. We have people. So they actually said that people will arrive as your settlement grows. So it's kind of like people just arriving to your vault in the app, of course. And I thought maybe if you're doing quests in a certain area, maybe you can walk up to a person and they'll have an option for you to just send them to your settlement. I think that'd be an awesome idea. I hope I actually see it in the game. You know, maybe there's just some random person that you do a quest for. Maybe they don't have another purpose. So you say, hey, why don't you go to my settlement? It's that way. I think that's a really cool idea. So I hope we see something like that in the game. Next is food. So obviously you have plants. That's what they showed off. I'm sure there's more sources of food, but of course those plants will be harvested by people. I don't know if you have to assign people to the plants in order to get them to harvest them. We'll just have to see when we get settlements in our hands. Obviously, water goes hand in hand with food, and you can install water pumps that will pump water out of the ground, and maybe you have to assign people to them. We're not really sure. We have power, so you'll be able to craft generators that will produce power. Obviously, some items and objects will produce power and others will require it. For example, lights will require it, and you'll actually be able to string wires from generators to lights in order to get them to work. And also terminals. I'm going to talk about terminals in a second here, but power has, you know, so many uses. It's so important with our settlements. Next is safety, and we'll be able to build various structures like turrets, flamethrowers, tripwires, fences, and like I said, guard towers. Some of these will require a worker to actually operate, like the guard tower, and each of these items produces the actual, you know, resource of safety. So you have a safety level. All of these have levels, as you guys know. Next is beds. So I assume you just build beds, and that allows you to accommodate more people. Each person will need a bed. Maybe you have couples. I don't really know how that works. We do know that babies are a thing because there are cribs. I don't think those cribs are just, you know, decoration. And of course, I think beds are just like constructing living quarters in Fallout Shelter. I think we're going to see a very similar mechanic there. Happiness is another resource category, and I'm not sure how this is calculated. Based on what I saw in Fallout Shelter, maybe it's something about, you know, your people have certain, you know, job needs and skills. Maybe they need to be in the right positions. Maybe it's just the overall quality of your settlement based on every other category. You know, if your settlement's not safe, your people shouldn't be happy. If your settlement doesn't have food, they shouldn't be happy. They don't have power, on and on. I believe that's how happiness will work. Maybe decoration improves your happiness. Maybe there are certain items that give you just a net happiness upgrade when you craft them and place them in your settlement. We don't really know. The final management category is size, and this is just a bar on the far right of the screen that indicates your settlement's size. And we know from my last video that there's actually an achievement that references a large settlement. That's the wording it uses. We don't know what that means, but we do know there's an absolute limit for size. We can't just keep going on and on with our settlement size. And so size is obviously going to dictate how much food you need, how much water you need, how much power you need, you know, how much safety, all of that. So size is also a very important resource for settlements. Finally, let's talk about advancing your settlement. How do you make this thing better? What is, you know, a top tier settlement? We don't really know. This is pure conjecture if I'm being honest, but we do know that certain perks and certain special categories grant better crafting options that will allow you to operate your settlement more efficiently. It'll give you more tools to be more efficient with your settlement, and certain ranks within those perks will unlock options. So here are a few examples I noticed in the gameplay. You can use terminals to create very complex systems like turret control, which is very cool. You will need hacker, which is the intellect 4 perk, and it just showed a rank 1 requirement in the video. Maybe that'll go up as we get more and more complex terminal systems. Another example is that you can build stores that will attract traders. So I have to assume that wording means that you'll attract another person that'll be another person in your people resource, And in order to build those stores, you need Local Leader, which is the Charisma 6 perk, and it actually said you need the 3rd rank in order to build that store. So very interesting with these, perk requirements, and that probably has a level requirement as well in order to get to that certain rank of Local Leader. Another example is turrets. Various turrets need certain perks. So for a laser turret, you need Science, which is an Intellect 6 perk, and you just need the 1st rank in order to build the laser turret that was showed in the video. Or you could build a machine gun turret, which requires Gun Nut, which is the Intellect 4 perk, and also just the 1st requirement for that particular machine gun turret. So obviously we can tell which special categories are most important and most relevant for settlement building. And so far we can tell that Intellect and Charisma are very, very important for settlements. We already knew that Charisma was important, but now we know Intellect is also very important for making that awesome, very advanced settlement. Maybe there are other requirements. Here's a little example. If you have a high level of endurance, maybe you have something that removes your radiation at your settlement. We don't really know. There's a lot of possibilities, but we do know for sure that Charisma and Intellect definitely help out with settlement building. My final observation for this video is that you can send Brahmin caravans between your settlements, and I have to assume that's for trading. That's something that Todd mentioned in his E3 premiere. And that's really cool. I think that's going to bring some caps, maybe attract some potential traders like we talked about before. There are a lot of possibilities for what you can do between all of your settlements, and it's really interconnected. It's kind of like the latest SimCity. If you guys played that, you had different cities. It's kind of the same thing. You can trade in between your settlements with these Brahmin caravans, and it's just a really, really awesome system. I'm very excited to get my hands on it. I want to know what you guys think about settlements. Do you have any particular settlement plans, something you're going to recreate with this mode? Obviously, there's a ton of possibilities. I'm sure people are going to try to recreate Megaton. That's just one idea, but let me know what you're feeling about the settlement mode, what your plans are. If you plan to build your character around the fact that they will be able to create very advanced settlements. Let me know in the comments section below. Alright guys, today we covered all that we know so far about settlements in Fallout 4. Next time we will cover more Fallout 4 information here on my channel, so stay tuned for all of my pre-release content, and remember that this is your #1 hub for all Fallout 4 content here on YouTube. If you have any ideas for something you would like me to cover that I haven't touched on yet, be sure to leave it in the comments section below. If you learned something new from this video, remember to hit that like button, I'd really appreciate it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Stay tuned for more pre-release content coming now, and also Fallout 4 content when the game comes out on November the 10th. Talk to you guys next time. Peace.